The craziest thing about all of this, man, is that there just seems to be so much variation when it comes to the successful recipe, the secret recipe to success. I've been watching sports for a very long time. You guys know what I watch. And throughout these years of watching it, I'm 33 now, man. I've been watching a lot of sports for a very long time. I've seen a lot of variation, and it seems to be going around in trends, Just in terms of basketball, man, like in the last 30 years, in the last 20 years, I feel like the basketball game has changed multiple times. And it always changes depending on what sort of player comes into the NBA. When Shaq was around playing, his prime years, there was a lot of players to counter Shaq. Dudes who were like big, bulky, bodybuilder type of guys who couldn't really bounce the ball or do anything other than the physical aspect of the game. Defend Shaq, set screens, grab rebounds. That's basically the extent of or dunk the ball. That was the extent of their game. Now, that type of individual is not existent in the NBA now. Now the NBA is about movement. Can you run up and down the court? Can you defend multiple positions, not just a Shaq kind of guy? And then Steph Curry kind of comes into the game later on. And now this guy's launching threes from like the car park. So now you have to defend somebody halfway from the logo, essentially. You got to chase somebody through all the way. As soon as he crosses the halfway, like you defend him. Not only that, but what Steph Curry is really good at is, he'll run through a bunch of screens to get an open shot. And if you cover him really well, he won't get the shot in that position. He'll pass it back to the guy on top and continue running. And so there's like multiple players cutting and diving and doing all sorts of things. And he's like this unbelievable motor. He just never stops running. And for somebody to mix ultimate range of a shot with ultimate fitness makes it damn near impossible to guard a guy like that. You need like a whole freaking bench full of guys who are there to run after Steph Curry and who have engines of their own, And some of these guys that are chasing Steph Curry are not getting around these screens unscathed. Like Steph Curry's running around the screens. Sometimes you get hit by the screen. Same thing in football, man. It seems like there's so much change happening, and it seems to be going in trends. Once upon a time, the most successful clubs used to have these, what do they call them? Target men. Big guys, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" guys that you play the long ball to. Pass him either through air or ground passes. He would hold up the play, then have bringers run around. Now you have like these false nine positions where the striker can also be like a counter-attacking midfielder or center-attacking midfielder, and it's like wishy-washy. And sometimes I look for similarities between trends through different sports. Things are changing, and same with weightlifting. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, even Abajev was really successful with this specificity idea, training the same damn lift over and over again. That's all they would do multiple times a day. And then somebody else was successful doing something else. And then I hear about gym and volume. And then I hear about a guy back in the 50s and 60s, before Abajev, before any of that, called Paul Anderson. He basically trained partial ranges of motion, training the sticking point and training it through a partial range of motion and starting it at that sticking point. And so then we see a guy like Louis Simmons incorporate some of those ideas into a box squat and all these other different pieces of equipment that he came up with. And so I'm sitting back and I'm constantly reading about this stuff. You guys know that I genuinely enjoy listening to people talk about sports, athleticism, athletic performance, powerlifting, bodybuilding, Olympic. I enjoy it all. Speaking of bodybuilding, you see so much variation. Like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it's all different. It's all very, very different. And superimposing all of that, you have this technology aspect to everything, to our lives. There's the drugs. They're getting more sophisticated. There's SARMs now. There was only testosterone back then. Some steroids come onto the scene. Various different pills, injections, all this sort of stuff. Fake natties everywhere. Some guy's claiming to be natty, but he's really not natty, but he's selling a natty program. Ivan buys the natty program. After 3 months, he gets disappointed, gets depressed, wants to quit because what sort of an idiot am I? Why can't I progress like this guy? And this guy is selling me something that is not the case. If that guy sat on the damn couch and just did steroids, he would have gotten better results than me doing the actual program and doing everything right without the steroids. So you might as well tell me, sit on the damn couch, give me some pills, and that's the program. So there's so much stuff, and you know, ever since I kind of got into this, my post-basketball, you know, training, it's been so damn confusing, man. Like, basketball is simple. It's about getting the ball in the hole. And at those, you know, earlier levels of play, you know, the junior basketball, it's about the basics, man. Can you dribble? Can you pass? Can you shoot? Can you stay, you know, on the court? How fit are you to stay on the court for longer? And, you know, that's it, really. Like, can you outrun it? Are you the fittest guy? This is junior basketball, basically, or amateur basketball. Are you the fittest guy? Pretty much. And are you the most skilled in terms of your position? Can you shoot this way, that way? Can you dribble this way, that way? But when it comes to powerlifting and bodybuilding and all this kind of barbell sports, it's kind of just like, man, I don't even know what the hell is going on, man. Like, there's so much damn variation. Like, with the basics, you know. And over the years, I've kind of struggled with, you know, which way to go and what to do. I'm now a lot less stubborn about some of these ideas. I remember first learning about specificity, Ivan Abajev, Pavel Tsatsouline, Grease in the Groove, all those types of things. And I thought that makes such a lot of sense. You know, do the same movement over and over again, you'll have success. And then I started getting signs and symptoms of upset muscle groups that are not getting enough attention. And then you start looking for weaknesses, and then you start, you know, basically discovering conjugate. Louis Simmons, that's the whole freaking thing about him. The guy was literally out on the lookout for weakness, and he would literally demolish it. You know, he would invent machines, and if you're weak on a machine, that's the thing you gotta do. So it's all very difficult to understand. You know, these sumos that I'm doing, you know, I would have never done this a few years ago. That's like telling Shaq, man, you gotta go and run after Steph Curry and you gotta start launching shots. That's kind of how I've evolved. You know, sumos for me they feel shit, you know, when I'm doing them. I feel like I have no legs underneath me. But after the fact, I feel good. I feel like they are opening up my hips. I feel like they're opening up the hip flexors. I feel like they're doing a lot of good to me. So somebody like me who likes conventional stance, who likes ATG squatting, I'm getting benefit in doing something that I don't like to do. I'm Shaquille O'Neal. I need that ball in the low post, and I'm going to take a few dribbles, then I'm going to send my elbow into your mutt, and then I'm going to try and bring the whole ring down. That's my game. But Shaq could have done a lot of good if he just got a damn free throw game going. If somebody taught that man how to shoot, if he internally realized that he needs to do something that he doesn't like to do, the gains would have been incredible. Kobe Bryant said in an interview, I remember, that Shaquille O'Neal would have been the greatest player of all time if that man learned how to shoot a free throw. Now, I believe deep down in my soul that man, if he inside realized that he needed and wanted to, if he somehow connected some dots in his heart and in his head, that was going to be beneficial for him. I mean, that's the whole battle. That would have just changed everything. Free throws for Shaq are like sumos for me. And I'm nowhere near the best in the world. Shaq was the best in the world at a certain point in time. So the realization that you need to do something that you do not like for the better outcome of the overall system is so damn important, man. It's so important, and the whole process starts and ends with ego, stubbornness, and you can't blame somebody. Like, if you are an expert, say you are Shaquille O'Neal, and you've made a living out of dunking on people and being a physical specimen. It is very hard to tell that guy to go and play the soft game, which is that long kind of stretch 4-5 position. Be more like Dirk. Like, how do you sell a guy like that on this idea? He can walk through a brick wall, and you want him to start having a soft touch with his hands, start shooting these jumpers. It's hard. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell for me, who saw Klokov do that 250 pause front squat and went, I'm getting in the game for that. And then for years, I would see Louis Simmons, split. Basically, some people doing splits and squatting at the same time. Like, the legs are so far apart and doing a squat. And I'm like, the hell is this atrocity of a movement? Why are people doing this? And then I see sumo. Then I'm starting to learn all these things. I'm like, this is disgusting. It's disgusting. And for many years, I had that position. Finally, I'm doing these damn sumos. And I'm like, there is some benefit to this, man. It's making my stuff that I love, it's making it better. Shaq would have been the greatest player of all time if he did a little bit of sumo / free throws. It's very hard to process that internally, but that's the path forward. And so eventually, down the track, Joel Embiid type of character rocks up, who's got the shot, and he's not as big as Shaq, but he's a big guy who can dominate in the paint, and he can shoot. He's got a soft touch. And then you got other blends like Nikola Jokic, who is essentially a 7-footer, 7'1", whatever he is, point guard. The man was trapped inside a 7'1" body, but he's a point guard. He can see the floor like Steve Nash. He can, like J Kidd, like Magic. He doesn't have the physical attributes, but he's got the mental understanding of the game. He's still a big dude, man. He can still bang with the best of them down below, and do these teardrop shots and sunboard shots. Like, it's incredible when you blend these ideas. And I think that's the future of basketball. That's the future of soccer. We're gonna have these players come through that understand. I need to be Shaq with a 3-point shot. That's unstoppable, man. That's unstoppable. And even though it seems that Shaq would have never wanted to shoot. I listen to him basically every day talk about these playoff games with Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq, and on TNT. And Shaq is always saying, I don't like seeing big dudes shoot threes. Like, I know what his score is, but my God, if you hit 1 3-point shot, man, that opens up the whole court, because that defender of yours is gonna have to step closer. And as he steps closer to you when you're in that pick and roll, because you might be threatening to pick and pop, all of a sudden the whole lane opens up. All of a sudden your buddies have freaking layups. So having more variety into your training program, into your thinking, into your philosophy, just opens everything up. Even though you might not like it. Shaq, you're never going to want to shoot threes. I get it. But if you start shooting them at 30, 35%, man, it's over, man. You get a free throw game that you're shooting 40, 80%. Imagine if Shaq shot 80%. You can't foul him anymore, man. Like, I don't know what people would have done. These sumos feel horrible when I'm doing them. I feel so much weak. I honestly don't even know what's going on, more muscles I'm using. Such an awkward position for me to be in. Because after so many years of having my feet underneath me and relying on that push off the floor, relying on some sort of foundation, it's so awkward to have them out and completely rely on the hips. And my hips are so weak. So weak. But as I'm sitting here talking to you guys right now, I feel my glutes vibrating, especially that position around high hamstring, lower glute kind of tying. I feel sore there. Like, it's not DOMs anymore because I've kind of gotten over them. But I feel like that vibration, that hot feeling that it's, there's damage there. I've worked it real hard. And so that glute, that fuller hip mobility, strength, carries over directly to conventional deadlift and to squatting and to anything really. Just moving the feet out. Oh, man. Having the ability to do multiple different things, to address multiple different attacks and defenses, or whatever analogy you want to use, is so valuable, man. It's so valuable. But it's hard. It's hard when you're stuck in your way, especially, like I said, I got into this. If you said to me, let me show you a lift, and then I want you to do it. If I ever stumbled upon sumo deadlifting initially, I would have just walked past this. I would have never picked up a barbell. Because if somebody said to me, this is what weightlifting is, I would have first vomited on your feet, and then I would have continued walking. Because that to me is atrocious. But lucky enough, man, one of my first aha moments was Klokov. That 250 ATG front squat. I've said this a million times to you guys. That is what sparked my interest. That is what I fell in love with. I want to be able to do that. Obviously, I'll never be able to do that because I'm not a freaking top tier athlete. But that is kind of the vision that I have of the type of body I want to have, the type of strength I want to have. I never got excited about 1,100 pounds squat in 55 ply suit and there's a forklift behind them. Like, what the hell is that, man? The moment they got all that stuff, the 1,100 squat became, I think, a 700 squat for some of these Westside boys. Maybe it was like close to 800. Whatever. It wasn't freaking 1,000 pounds, man. You know? To me, and I appreciate we're all different. We don't have to agree on this stuff. I'm simply telling you guys my perspective of what I think about my love and my attraction to this whole game, this whole little corner of fitness that we call bodybuilding, powerlifting, you know, CrossFit, whatever you want to call it, basically the barbell. So everything that I have been choosing for many years has been in this idea of what would Klokov have done, what, like, you know, more weightlifting kind of stuff. I've never seen Klokov do a sumo deadlift in my life. Why would I be doing it? But then you start getting more and more information, you realize there's benefits. There's benefits. There's a lot of benefits in Shaq shooting free throws really well. So I'm constantly nowadays, you know, checking myself, making sure I'm not being dismissive to foreign ideas. But at the same time, like, if you don't stand your ground for anything, like, who are you? There needs to be some sort of belief system. So it's kind of like a catch-22, isn't it, man? Like, you want to have beliefs about certain things because that's what kind of what makes you. But you also have to be open to a certain degree to change, to different ideas. Especially if you're kind of like me and you like experimentation. But I don't like experimentation for the sake of experimentation. I want to go to A to Z. No, man. I want to be really good at that narrow stance ATG squat. That's my thing. I'll try anything. Like I said to you guys, if overhead pressing carries over to the squat, I'm all over that. I'll do it. I will do it because that fits into my goal. I'm doing sumo. It's not because I want to be the best sumo deadlifter in the world. Because I have a feeling, and definitely I have a feeling, it feels great, that it's carrying over to hip health, number one, to my squat, to my deadlift. Feel like the joints finally getting balanced. But if you are a sumo deadlifter, right? If you're a sumo deadlifter, you probably have a lot of value in doing conventional. This is where the conflict is with me. You know, I thought specificity was king. And I still feel that to a certain degree. But this damn variation makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense. Having variation. If you are just a Shaq and you just go for that pound and Shaq attack, eventually it's going to get to a point like we've seen in the NBA of lesser versions of Shaq essentially being thrown out of the game. Because, okay, no worries. So Shaq's in the game. That's cool. We got a whole bunch of shooters on our end. We'll put 3 or 4, you know, small guys in the game. Everyone's below 6'7", and we'll just run. 7 seconds or less type of offense. And let's see what Shaq does. He's going to get real tired, man. It's hard to move 350 damn pounds up and down the court. Okay, you're going to dunk on me every single time down the court. But every single time we go to your end of the court, your defensive end, you can't catch Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. You can't catch them. Who's guarding them? So then you're going to have basically a training open shot off the three. And these guys are converting crazy stuff, man. So they're counting in threes, you're counting in twos. I'm just training conventional. And maybe I'm getting, let's say, 3 points back every month. But the guy that's doing conventional and sumo is getting 5 points back in terms of progression and all of that. So this is where you need to think very, very carefully. You can't be stubborn, because if you are stubborn and especially like in this professional sports world, if you're too stubborn and you are not open for change, the game's going to chew you out and just throw you out. That's it. And same with the body. Don't quit on the body. Oh, my body really hurts, so therefore I need to stop. No, man. You need to work that out. Add some variation. Add some thoughtful variation. Listen to some really smart people. Listen to the variation camp. Listen to the specificity camp. Listen to the CrossFitters, to the bodybuilders, to the Olympic weightlifters. Listen to the strongman. Listen to every other guy. Listen to Paul Anderson. Partial range of motion. Where's your weak point? Bang. Put some pins there and let's go. It all comes together, and I just continue to learn from everywhere. And the bottom line is, man, as much as it is uncomfortable in one way, it is very, very comfortable to know there are multiple different routes to this damn goal of ours. You just have to keep your eyes out, listen carefully, do more listening than talking, and just keep absorbing the information that's out there. We live in an unbelievable age nowadays where we can just accumulate so much of that information. A lot of that is BS. A lot of it is drugs and blah, 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 all that stuff. But never stop listening. Never stop being a student of the game, because that's what this whole thing is about. I want to thank Vitor Caires. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name correctly. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Caires. He's the latest supporter on Patreon. Really would appreciate you, man. Like I always say, man, you never get it all for me. Never ever gets all for me to see more and more names on the Patreon list. This is page 5, man. Page 5. Insanity. It's absolute insanity. Appreciate you and the rest of the people on the Patreon list, on Instagram, on YouTube. You guys know the drill. I appreciate you all, and you guys all mean a lot to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.